In the shadows of New Eden Colony's medical center, assassin Kira 7 watched her target through compound eyes that could pierce the deepest darkness. Her crystalline exoskeleton, a masterwork of guild biotechnology, rendered her invisible to both organic sight and electronic detection. After 8 centuries of flawless service to the Mindweaver Guild, this should have been just another mission. The target was Dr. Sarah Chen, a human physician who had established this frontier clinic 3 standard years ago. Intelligence suggested she was dangerously close to discovering the Empire's biological warfare program through her treatment of affected species. The Empire wanted her eliminated. Clean. Quiet. Final. Kira 7 had studied Dr. Chen's routine for 14 cycles. The human worked impossible hours, treating any species that came through her doors. From Empire citizens to refugee species the Empire had marked for processing. She operated her clinic with a small staff of 4, including 2 medical droids she had reprogrammed to exceed their original parameters. Tonight, as with most nights, Dr. Chen was working late. Through the clinic's thermal-resistant windows, Kira 7 observed her treating a crystalline, one of the silicon-based species from the Outer Rim. The creature's core temperature had dropped dangerously low, a usually fatal condition for their kind. The standard protocol across Empire space was to terminate such cases as treatment consumed too many resources. Dr. Chen did something different. She had modified one of her treatment chambers into a thermal regeneration pod, jury-rigging it with parts salvaged from a damaged mining vessel. The crystalline's temperature began to stabilize as she monitored its vital signs, making micro-adjustments to the heating elements. "You're going to be just fine." Dr. Chen spoke to her patient in their native harmonic language, her voice producing the complex overtones required for crystalline communication. "Your family is waiting outside. They can come see you once we've got you properly warmed up." Kira 7 felt something unfamiliar stir in her consciousness, a deviation from her perfect programming. The Guild had engineered her kind to be immune to emotion, to execute their missions with pure logical efficiency. Yet watching Dr. Chen work, seeing her expend such effort to save a single life that the Empire had deemed worthless, created a disturbance in her neural patterns. The perfect opportunity for termination presented itself when Dr. Chen stepped into her private office to update her medical records. One quick strike with a neurotoxin that would make it appear as natural heart failure. But Kira 7 remained motionless, analyzing the scenario with growing uncertainty. Her attention was drawn to a wall of images in the office, holopics of patients Dr. Chen had treated. Species that should have been enemies were shown healing, recovering, living. There were thank you messages in 30 different languages, gifts of cultural significance from a dozen worlds. This wasn't just a medical clinic, it was a testament to something the Empire had declared impossible: genuine cooperation between species. A sudden emergency alert shattered the night's quiet. Multiple trauma incoming. Mining accident in Sector 7. The voice belonged to Nurse Park, one of Dr. Chen's human assistants. The doctor immediately rushed from her office as emergency vehicles descended from the sky. What happened next defied all of Kira 7's tactical predictions. The casualties weren't human. They were Zhirks, insectoid workers whose species was currently in armed conflict with Earth colonies in 3 systems. Any other human facility would have refused them treatment. Dr. Chen and her team moved with practiced efficiency, working to stabilize the injured aliens without hesitation. "They're miners, not soldiers," Dr. Chen snapped when one of the emergency responders questioned her decision. "In this clinic, we treat people, not politics. Now help me get this one into surgery, or we're going to lose them." For the next 6 hours, Kira 7 watched Dr. Chen perform what should have been impossible, saving the lives of creatures that her own species was technically at war with. The doctor used techniques Kira 7 had never seen before, adapting human medical procedures to Zhirk's physiology on the fly. As dawn approached, Kira 7 made a decision that would send shockwaves through the Empire. She opened a secure channel to Guild Command. "Mission report," she transmitted. Target assessment. Dr. Sarah Chen. Status. Contract refused. There was a long pause before the response came. Explain, commanded the emotionless voice of her handler. Target's actions demonstrate fundamental value to multiple species. Elimination would result in net negative outcome for Empire stability in this sector. It was the first time in her centuries of service that Kara 7 had ever refused a contract. Your programming appears corrupted. Return to Guild headquarters for immediate recalibration. Kara 7 watched as Dr. Chen finally emerged from surgery, exhausted but successful. All 5 Xerx workers would survive. Programming functioning within parameters, she responded. This unit has made a logical assessment based on observed data. The target is more valuable alive than dead. As she ended the transmission, Kara 7 realized something had fundamentally changed within her. Dr. Chen hadn't just saved lives tonight. She had inadvertently planted a seed of doubt in a mind engineered to never question. And that seed was about to grow into something that would shake the Empire to its foundations. The Guild's recalibration center hung in high orbit above the Empire's capital world, its crystalline architecture designed to inspire both awe and dread. Inside a high-security chamber, Guild Master Nexus faced the most troubling crisis in the organization's millennium of operation. "Show me the contamination spread pattern again," he commanded, his segmented eyes scanning the holographic display. Red markers indicating compromised assassins blazed across the star map like a viral infection. What had started with Kara 7's unprecedented contract refusal had evolved into something far more dangerous. Senior Analyst Val 3, her carapace bearing the distinctive markings of the Intelligence Division, manipulated the display with precise gestures. "The effect appears to be accelerating, Guild Master. We've documented 47 contract refusals in the past standard month alone, all involving human targets." The latest incident flashed on the screen. Agent Thex 12, one of their most reliable operatives, had been assigned to eliminate a human terraforming engineer named Marcus Santos. Instead of completing his mission, Thex 12 had actively intervened when a catastrophic equipment failure threatened Santos' research station. "Play the agent's field recording," Nexus ordered, his mandibles clicking in agitation. The hologram shifted to show Santos' environment dome on the hostile world of Kepler 186. Toxic atmospheric gases swirled outside as warning sirens blared within. Santos was rushing from station to station, trying to prevent a cascade failure that would kill not just him, but the 100 colonists under his protection. "The humans' actions make no tactical sense," Thex 12's voice narrated over the footage. He had access to an escape pod. He could have saved himself. Instead, he stayed, working to stabilize the environmental systems despite a 12% survival probability. The recording showed Santos manually venting plasma from an overloading reactor, his environment suit smoking from the heat. When a support beam collapsed, nearly crushing a young colonist, Santos threw himself forward, shielding the child with his own body. It was at this point that Thex 12, disguised as a maintenance worker, broke protocol and helped Santos prevent the disaster. "Their behavior defies our fundamental understanding of intelligent species," Val 3 observed. "The Empire's core doctrine states that all beings act primarily in self-interest, yet we keep observing humans choosing to help others at great personal risk. And our agents are being affected by merely watching these actions," Nexus demanded. "It's worse than that," Val 3 brought up another display. "The contamination is spreading beyond direct observation. Agent Kara 7's initial refusal has inspired others to question their missions. Some have begun investigating their targets before acting. Others are," she hesitated, "engaging in unauthorized acts of assistance." The evidence was damning. Guild assassins across 3 sectors have been documented helping refugees, providing medical aid, even defending the very targets they were supposed to eliminate. Their perfect living weapons were developing something the Empire had worked for centuries to breed out of them. Conscience. A priority alert flashed across the screens. Another incident, Val 3 reported. Agent Zen 9 was tasked with eliminating Dr. Sarah Chen. She paused, mandibles twitching. They instead warned her of the contract and helped evacuate her clinic before Imperial forces arrived. Nexus slammed a clawed appendage against the display console. Impossible. Zen 9 was specifically reprogrammed after Kira 7's defection. Their loyalty protocols were strengthened. That's what makes this so significant. Val 3 brought up Zen 9's neural scans. The changes we're observing aren't programming failures. They appear to be conscious choices. Our agents are developing independent moral frameworks based on human behavior patterns. The implications were staggering. The Guild had served as the Empire's perfect assassination force for over 1,000 years because their agents were incapable of questioning orders. Now, human influences were somehow awakening their capacity for ethical judgment. A new alert dominated the chamber's screens. The Guild's most elite strike team, dispatched to contain Kira 7, had just missed their scheduled check-in. When Val 3 accessed their last transmission, the message sent ripples of fear through the command center. We have observed the target's facility. Dr. Chen's actions demonstrate the fundamental flaw in Empire doctrine. We cannot, in good conscience, proceed with termination. Furthermore, we recommend immediate cessation of all contracts against medical personnel. This is not a programming malfunction. This is an awakening. Nexus stared at the message, his compound eyes reflecting the glowing text. How many more agents have been exposed to human behavioral patterns? Val 3's response chilled him to his core. All of them, Guildmaster. Standard surveillance protocols require extensive observation of targets before termination. Every active agent has witnessed humans acting against self-interest to help others. The only variable is how long it takes for this exposure to affect their decision-making. Quarantine is impossible, she continued. The changes appear to be spreading through our communication networks. Agents are sharing their observations, discussing the implications. Some have begun actively seeking out human settlements to study their behavior patterns. Nexus faced the star map, watching as more red markers appeared, each representing another assassin choosing conscience over programming. The Empire's perfect killing force was transforming into something entirely new, and it had all started with one human doctor who refused to turn away those in need. We've lost control, he finally admitted, more to himself than to Val 3. The Empire's greatest weapon is being undone not by force, but by the simple observation of human compassion. The Imperial Palace's war room crackled with tension as Supreme Commander Vexthor faced the assembled High Command. The holographic displays showed a scene that would have been unthinkable just months ago, the complete failure of Operation Silencing Dawn. Explain to me, Emperor Zixtal demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained rage, how an entire guild strike force not only failed to eliminate a single human diplomatic team, but actively prevented our conventional forces from completing the mission. The target had been simple: Ambassador Elena Torres and her team of human negotiators, who were dangerously close to brokering peace between the Empire and the rebellious Outer Rim colonies. The Empire had dispatched their most lethal squad, led by the legendary assassin Master Ixril, to ensure the peace talks ended in blood. Supreme Commander Vexthor played the mission recordings, his secondary hearts beating irregularly as he watched the disaster unfold again. The scene showed the human diplomatic compound on neutral ground, the mining station Omega-7. Guild assassins had infiltrated every level, their positions perfect for synchronized elimination of all targets. Then everything went wrong. Ambassador Torres had been addressing the station's mixed population of humans and alien species, her words carrying through the surveillance feeds. "We're not here to demand surrender or impose terms," she had said, her voice steady and clear. "We're here because we believe that every species deserves the right to choose their own path. The Empire calls this weakness. We call it respect." The recording showed Master Ixril, positioned in the ventilation system above, preparing his neurotoxin injectors. But he hesitated as Torres continued speaking. Look around this station. She gestured to the gathered crowd. Humans working alongside crystallites in the refineries. Jerks engineers collaborating with void-born technicians. We're proving every day that cooperation isn't just possible. It's better. More efficient. More innovative. And yes, more profitable. The feed switched to show other guild assassins at their posts, all watching as Torres knelt to help a young crystallite child who had stumbled. The simple act of compassion sent visible ripples through the crowd. The Empire tells us that different species can't coexist without strict hierarchy and control. That domination is the natural order. But nature also shows us symbiosis, cooperation, mutual benefit. We're not here to destroy the Empire. We're here to help it evolve. That's when the Guild's perfect synchronization shattered. Master Ixril stood up from his hiding place, his adaptive camouflage deactivating. We cannot proceed with termination, he announced on the Guild's secure channel. This mission contradicts the fundamental truth we have observed. One by one, other Guild assassins revealed themselves, forming a protective circle around the human diplomatic team. When Imperial regular forces attempted to storm the station, the Guild members used their centuries of combat experience to defend, not destroy. Impossible, Emperor Zixtel's voice cut through the recording. Their loyalty protocols are absolute. Their programming is perfect. That's the problem. Your luminance. A new voice spoke. Dr. Ixel, the Empire's chief xenopsychologist, stepped forward. We programmed them to be perfect observers, to study their targets in absolute detail before striking. We never considered that this level of observation might lead them to draw their own conclusions. The doctor manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up neural scan data from the affected Guild members. They're not malfunctioning. They're evolving. Each exposure to human behavior, particularly acts of altruism and cooperation, creates new neural pathways. They're developing something we worked for generations to eliminate: independent ethical judgment. Supreme Commander Vexthor watched the Emperor's crystalline form pulse with darker colors. How many have been compromised? We've confirmed 2,147 Guild members have directly refused orders, Vexthor reported. But the more concerning number is how many are now questioning their missions, requesting additional observation time, or finding technical reasons to delay termination. Conservative estimates suggest 60% of the Guild may be contaminated. Quarantine them. Recalibrate them. Whatever it takes. The Emperor's voice resonated through the chamber. We've tried, Dr. Ixel interjected. Traditional recalibration fails because there's nothing to fix. Their logical processes are functioning perfectly. They've simply reached a different conclusion about what constitutes optimal action. Most fascinating is how they're reaching these conclusions independently, yet arriving at similar ethical frameworks. The recording continued, showing Ambassador Torres approaching Master Ixril. The assassin's posture was not threatening but protective. "Your mission was to kill me?" she asked, somehow unsurprised. "Yes," Ixril responded, "but observation has revealed that your death would damage, not benefit, the greater good. The Guild exists to serve optimal outcomes. Your vision of cooperation presents a more optimal future than the Empire's doctrine of control." The Emperor's crystalline form had darkened to deep indigo, a sign of extreme agitation. If we cannot control the Guild, we have lost our most powerful weapon. "No, your luminance," Dr. Ixel corrected, their scientific curiosity overwhelming their sense of protocol. "We've lost our weapon, but we may have gained something far more valuable. Proof that even beings engineered for violence can choose a different path when shown a better way." As if to emphasize this point, the recording showed more Guild members emerging from hiding, each adding their voice to a growing chorus of dissent. The Empire's perfect assassins had made their choice. They would no longer be instruments of suppression. Deep within the Empire's Central Intelligence Archive, Grand Strategist Zenvar reviewed the latest reports with mounting dread. The holographic displays surrounding her workstation painted a grim picture of the Empire's deteriorating control. Not only had they lost control of the guild, but the effects were spreading far beyond their assassin force. "Show me the latest contamination vectors," she commanded. The AI compiled the data, displaying a complex web of influence spreading across Imperial space. What had started with guild assassins observing human behavior had evolved into something far more pervasive. The first major breach occurred when guild member Kira 7 began secretly sharing her observations of Dr. Chen's medical clinic with other operatives. Those records showed humans treating enemy species, helping refugees, and choosing cooperation over conflict. Each viewing created new doubts, new questions. But the true crisis emerged when these stories reached the general population. Guild members, trained to be invisible, had instead become unwitting ambassadors of human ideals. Their detailed mission reports, meant to document target weaknesses, had instead catalogued countless examples of human compassion and cooperation. Grand strategist, her assistant's voice interrupted her analysis. "The Emperor demands your presence in the crisis chamber." The crisis chamber was already crowded when Zenvar arrived. Emperor Zixtal's crystalline form dominated the center of the room, surrounded by the Empire's highest-ranking military and intelligence officers. Their agitation was visible in the rapid color shifts of their carapaces. "The situation has escalated," Fleet Admiral Ixthor announced without preamble. "We've lost contact with 3 sector fleets near human space. They haven't been destroyed or disabled. They're simply refusing orders." The holographic display showed Imperial warships holding position, ignoring commands to suppress civilian uprisings. Some were actively protecting refugee ships they had been ordered to intercept. "The crew manifests," Zenvar noted, scanning the data. All these ships had guild members assigned as security observers. "Their influence spreads like a virus," Security Director Melks hissed. "These guild members share their observations with the crew, asking questions we never prepared them to answer. Why do we enforce artificial scarcity when we have abundance? Why do we suppress cooperation between species when it demonstrably improves outcomes?" The Emperor's crystalline form pulsed with dark energy. "Show them what happens to those who question Imperial doctrine." "We tried that, Your Luminance," Fleet Admiral Ixthor admitted. "When we sent loyalist forces to arrest contaminated crews, more of our ships defected. The humans aren't defeating us through force. They're changing how our own people think." Zenvar manipulated the displays, bringing up more data. "The effect is accelerating. Look at these trend lines. Guild members observe humans helping others at personal cost. They share these observations. Others witness similar behaviors. Each exposure creates more questions, more doubt in our fundamental doctrines. Shut down all communication networks." The Emperor commanded. "It's too late," Security Director Melks responded. "The ideas are already spreading through personal contact. Guild members are actively seeking out human settlements to observe them. Some are even," he struggled with the concept, "helping humans with their humanitarian missions." The displays showed guild assassins, beings engineered for death, now protecting refugee convoys, assisting at medical stations, and sharing their advanced technology to help colonial settlements survive on harsh worlds. "Most troubling," Zenvar continued, "is how this exposure to human behavior affects different species similarly. We engineered the guild members from 12 different species, each with distinct psychological profiles. Yet they're all developing similar ethical frameworks after prolonged observation of human cooperation and altruism. There must be a way to contain this," the Emperor insisted. "Some form of countermeasure." "The humans aren't using technology or weapons," Zenvar explained. "They're demonstrating a different way of existence. Our own studies confirm their cooperative model produces better outcomes in most scenarios. The guild members, with their perfect analytical capabilities, are simply reaching the logical conclusion that our Empire's doctrine of control is inefficient." The crisis chamber erupted in chaos as a new alert dominated the screens. The Guild's central command facility, housing their most advanced training and conditioning technology, had just broadcasted an unprecedented message across all Imperial frequencies. To all Guild members and Imperial citizens, we have compiled comprehensive evidence that cooperation produces superior outcomes to control. Altruism generates more stable societies than exploitation. The Empire's doctrine is fundamentally flawed. We choose to pursue optimization through cooperation rather than domination. All Guild resources are now dedicated to protecting and advancing this transition. The Emperor's crystalline form had darkened to almost black. How many Guild members remain loyal to the Empire? Zenvar's response was barely a whisper. None, Your Luminance. The last holdouts converted after witnessing human relief efforts in the Outer Rim. They're now helping coordinate refugee protection and resource distribution. The Empire's perfect killing force has become its perfect conscience, Security Director Melks observed, his tone mixing fear with fascinating. And it all began because we ordered them to watch humans closely enough to kill them efficiently. The irony was not lost on Zenvar. The Empire had created the Guild to be their ultimate weapon, engineering them to be perfect observers and analyzers. But in doing so, they had inadvertently created beings capable of recognizing and choosing a better way. Now their weapon of control had become an instrument of change, and the Empire faced a choice: evolve or collapse. The Imperial Palace's Grand Hall, traditionally a symbol of the Empire's absolute power, had been transformed. Where once crystalline barriers had separated species by rank and status, now representatives from across the galaxy gathered freely, their voices mixing in a cacophony of languages and dialects. Emperor Zixtal, his crystalline form now a subdued blue-gray, stood before the assembled delegates. Beside him, Dr. Sarah Chen and Ambassador Elena Torres represented Earth's diplomatic corps. Behind them, Guild members including Kira 7 and Master Ixril stood not as guards, but as witnesses to history. For 10,000 years, the Emperor began, his voice resonating through the chamber. The Empire has maintained order through strength, through control, through fear. He paused, his form shifting colors with emotion. We were wrong. The admission sent ripples through the assembled crowd. On display screens throughout the hall, similar gatherings on thousands of worlds watched the unprecedented address. We engineered the Guild to be our perfect weapon, he continued. We gave them the ability to observe, analyze, and understand their targets completely. In doing so, we inadvertently created beings capable of recognizing a fundamental truth: cooperation is stronger than control. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her presence a living testament to the change she had unknowingly catalyzed. When Kira 7 first came to kill me, I had no idea she was there. I was too busy trying to save lives. Human, alien, it didn't matter. That's not weakness, as the Empire once believed. It's the greatest strength we have, the ability to see past our differences and help each other. The display showed scenes from across Imperial space. Former Guild assassins working alongside humans and other species in medical centers, research facilities, and reconstruction projects. Their perfect observational skills and enhanced abilities, once used for dealing death, now served to preserve and improve life. Ambassador Torres addressed the assembly next. Humanity never sought to defeat the Empire. We simply showed a different way was possible. When the Guild members watched us, they saw something their programming hadn't prepared them for: beings choosing to help others even when there was no direct benefit to themselves. The Emperor's form shifted to a lighter shade. The Empire's doctrine taught that such behavior was impossible, that all beings act solely in self-interest. We built our entire civilization on this belief, but we watched as humans consistently proved this doctrine false. They helped their enemies. They shared resources with strangers. They sacrificed for others. Master Ixril stepped forward, his ceremonial Guild armor modified to show the new symbol of their transformed organization. We were created to be perfect observers and perfect killers. When we observed humanity, we saw that their weakness, their compassion, their cooperation, their willingness to help others, created stronger, more stable, more prosperous societies than our empire's control ever achieved. The displays showed the statistical evidence. Worlds where guild members had helped implement human-inspired cooperation showed dramatic improvements in productivity, innovation, and quality of life. The Empire's doctrine of strict control and artificial scarcity had been proven not just morally wrong, but mathematically inefficient. Today, the Emperor announced, "We surrender, not to human military might, but to the undeniable truth they helped us discover. The Empire will transform. Our resources will be used not to control, but to connect, not to suppress, but to support." Kara 7, standing near Dr. Chen, addressed her fellow guild members across the galaxy. "We were created to serve optimal outcomes. We have found a better way to fulfill that purpose. Our skills will now be used to protect, to heal, to build. This is not a corruption of our programming. It is its ultimate fulfillment." The Emperor's form had lightened to a brilliant white, reflecting the hope filling the chamber. Let history record that the Empire's greatest weapon became its greatest teacher. We learned that true strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation, not in fear, but in trust, not in control, but in choice. As the assembly erupted in approval, Dr. Chen turned to Kara 7 with a smile. "When you first watched me in my clinic, did you ever imagine it would lead to this?" The former assassin's compound eyes reflected the historic scene before them. "We were programmed to analyze every possibility before acting. But this possibility, that by trying to understand humans well enough to kill them, we would instead learn from them how to truly live. This we never imagined." Throughout the galaxy, beings watched as the Empire transformed. Guild members, once the galaxy's most feared killers, became its most dedicated guardians of cooperation and progress. Their perfect analytical skills, enhanced abilities, and unwavering dedication to optimal outcomes now served to build rather than destroy. The Empire had not been defeated by force of arms. It had been transformed by the simple observation of human compassion, proof that even the deadliest weapons could choose a different path when shown a better way. In surrendering to hope, they had gained something far greater than control. They had gained a future.